Recently, I finished a game that I'd been working on for the past couple of weeks, and it's called Attack of the Killer Snowmen. In this game, you are a hunter who has to fend off waves of snowmen who are armed with guns, and as you kill more and more snowmen, you accrue points and are able to progress to more difficult waves. And since I had fun playtesting this game, I thought it would be cool to try and set a world record for people to try and beat. But I had no idea how difficult this challenge was going to get. But without any further ado, let's set a world record. To get started, I think it's important to make it clear that the goal of this challenge is to try and get as high of a score as I possibly can. And since there are 3 difficulty modes to choose from, I decided to go with easy for this challenge, so that I could survive as long as possible. Now, just to get a score to work with, I decided to do a test run to see how I could do without any extra practice or strategizing. Now, while that's happening in the background, I should explain how points are actually earned in this game, and there are only 2 ways to do so. One way is by simply killing the snowman. Killing a small snowman will yield 100 points, but a large snowman will yield 150. But since there is a set number of snowmen per wave, we won't have to focus on this detail very much. What we do have to focus on, however, is the other way that the player can earn points, and that's by completing the waves quickly. You see, every time that a wave ends, a secret bonus is added to the score depending on how much time is remaining in the wave. So the more time left, the greater the bonus. This detail will become crucial later on, when I try and push my score as high as I possibly can. For now though, let's finish our first attempt and see what kind of a score we can get. This first attempt was actually really strong. I managed to survive to wave 19 and get a little over 18,000 points. Now, I ended up dying around this point because this is when the difficulty really ramps up, so these later rounds are really hard to maintain a high amount of health on. Now, before I started strategizing to see how we could get a higher score, I decided to make a few more attempts to see if I could get any further. But inevitably, it became almost impossible to sustain myself at the higher waves, with how much damage I was taking. So what can we do about this? Well, one simple thing was to dodge the gunfire better. Since the snowmen fire in a very deterministic way, my movement quickly became good enough to regularly dodge gunfire. Now this definitely helps out, but the other strategy I decided to employ was saving health packs. Every other round, a health pack randomly spawns into the map, and they can absolutely make or break a run. And since the earlier rounds are much easier to deal with, I decided that I would intentionally avoid picking up the health packs until absolutely necessary, so that I could push myself into further waves. Well, that ended up making a pretty significant difference. Not only did I get a new PB that's 2,000 points higher, but I also managed to make it to round 21 before dying. So we now know that it's possible to get a little bit further before it becomes virtually impossible to survive. Now at this point my score was already pretty optimized, so I had to get creative if I wanted to push this score any higher. And that's when I thought of an idea. Since we get bonus points for having extra time left at the end of each wave, and since the early waves are really easy to deal with, I decided that my new strategy would be to power through the early waves as fast as possible, in order to obtain more points, even if this meant taking more damage early on. And then, in the later waves, I would play as safely as possible to ensure my survival, all while trying to hoard as many health packs as possible. So with this refined strategy now in mind, the grind for the perfect score began. I am very happy with this score, and despite dying on the exact same round as before, getting extra points early on pushed us over the next 1,000-point barrier. If you would like to try and beat my record, or would just like to mess around with this game, it is free to download on my itch page, which is linked down in the description below. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!